My name is José Cerrato. I am a professor at the University of New Mexico Gerald May Civil Construction and Environmental Engineering Department.
Can you introduce yourself and talk about how you arrived here at the University of New Mexico?
Yes, so my name is José Cerrato. I am a professor at the University of New Mexico Gerald May Civil Construction and Environmental Engineering Department, but I also serve as the director of the UNM Metal Superfund Research Center, sponsored by the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. And I also serve as the director of the UNM Changes Climate Health Center that is funded also by the National Institutes of Health. So I came to the university in 2013, so I'm starting my 13th year. And I am originally from Honduras. I'm trained as a civil engineer, but I later went to Virginia Tech for graduate school and got my training in environmental engineering. Then I did a postdoctoral research appointment in Washington University in St. Louis, working with uranium biogeochemistry. And why New Mexico is a good fit for me is because in my undergraduate research, I was able to work with communities, native Honduran communities in water and sanitation. And then all this training in environmental engineering and later in uranium biogeochemistry aligned very well here to work in New Mexico with native communities on issues related to uranium mining legacy.
Fantastic. On that lines, can you tell us about what inspired you to go into environmental engineering and focus on water and public health?
Yes, I graduated from my degree in civil engineering, and quite honestly, I was lost because I wasn't sure what to focus on. And I had this great opportunity of working with a project with the Health Ministry of Honduras, working with native communities in Honduras that don't have adequate water and sanitation. So in that job, I was able to understand the importance of especially water quality, which we usually take for granted. And that really is the need of these communities, what inspired me to later pursue environmental engineering. So in some ways, I've seen myself always like as a social engineer.
In lines with your community engagement work here at the university, can you talk a little bit about the type of work you've done? And you mentioned metals. Can you talk a little bit more about what that entails working in our region?
Absolutely. So I have been very fortunate to be part of this amazing team that is a collaboration between the Health Sciences Center. So the center is actually housed in the College of Pharmacy. And as I said earlier, it's sponsored by the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences Superfund Research Program. We work together with researchers of main campus. And also, we work very closely with the Southwest Research and Information Center, who enable us to develop these partnerships with communities because my colleagues in the health sciences, particularly this community environmental health program that was pioneered by my dear friend Johnny Lewis, has been working for decades with particularly Diné, Navajo Nation. And it all started really around concerns related to uranium mining legacy, exposures of metal mixtures in communities. So that led to a lot of great work that has been pioneered again by my colleagues in the health sciences, addressing exposures and everything related to disease and health concerns. However, where we come in is that when I joined the University of New Mexico in 2013, I was asked to join this team actually in January 2014 to contribute this environmental engineering and science knowledge to try to understand what's the occurrence of metal mixtures in these mines, what's the specific chemical and physical form that these metals take when they move in the environment, so that then we can connect that both to understanding risks to human health, but also related to remediation. And thankfully, our partnerships also expanded to the Pueblo of Laguna. So we have this great partnership because they happened to deal with the jack pile mine, which is one of the it used to be one of the biggest uranium open pit mines in the world back in the 1960s, and it's still in the community. So they have to deal with the legacy of these operations.
I saw a presentation you gave recently, and you had a wonderful graphic, and you talked about communication to communities. Can you talk a little bit about, how you approach communities and really get them to understand the impact that you are bringing to that community in terms of the work that you're doing?
One of the issues that I really try is to explain to community members that as a university, we are a resource because we are, especially here, a state institution. And we are here to serve our taxpayers. And part of those taxpayers are native communities that we serve. So we have been able to build these partnerships so that we bring the science to them, and as we bring that science, what is fascinating to me is that we are able to train students that often are also from the community. So we have trained students from Diné, from Navajo Nation. We have trained students from the Pueblo of Laguna as well as we do these projects. And that enables them to see that our training programs have an intention of providing the best quality science that helps to inform decisions. And I think our challenge often is then that the scientific language can get intricate, right, and intense. And as we try to make our science accessible, we have had the incredible collaboration with Mallory Kotowski, who is this artist from Zuni Pueblo that works with us and has a biology training. So I think because of her having this biology scientific training and being an artist, we have been able to integrate very nicely her art, her visual art, which enables us to communicate concepts like DNA damage or metal mixtures occurrence and movement in the environment, and how that also affects physical and chemical processes, right, that relate then to the risks and also to the remediation. So that has been a very iterative process, I'm gonna say, that requires us to listen a lot to our community members as we are trying to communicate this science and find that ground that is in the middle, right? So we can communicate, but also make the data useful.
One of the prevalent things facing the globe right now is climate change, and water resources are depleting. We're seeing that here in our own region. Can you talk a little bit about your research and your work around water and climate change?
Yes, so we have been working with my research group, and this through collaborations with the Center for Water and the Environment, which is here in the School of Engineering, also through the Art Institute, which is this level 3 center that the university has, which houses this UNM Changes Center that I mentioned earlier, that we work in climate and health. And what we have tried to do is understand how these climate-driven events like wildfires is an example that I want to use, that let's say we have been experiencing often, and also with an intensity that just calls our attention, right? For example, what happened in the northern New Mexico 2 years ago with the Half Canyon Hermit Peak uh, wildfire, or the fires in Ruidoso that we have been experiencing in southern New Mexico in the last few years, really enable us to see how communities then is not only the devastation of the fires, but then is this water stress that is had after the wildfires. Water quality is impaired. And we have been trying to understand through the years both how water quality is impacted, also how we can integrate better geographical, climate, and health data to better respond to these climate-driven events. So one of the challenges that we have in the state of New Mexico is usually because most of our state is rural, our ability to have reliable data, timely, is a challenge, and we're trying to address that through our recent efforts. And it still remains a challenge, but we're positive that through the future, these partnerships with the communities are really what's gonna enable us to be responsive to community needs at the same time as we provide the best cutting edge tools.
Well, it's obviously that you have a lot of passion for the work that you do. Um, as you know, we are trying to grow our reach, and we're intending to reach out to as many New Mexicans as we can. What would be advice that you would have for people that want to collaborate with you or your centers that your work are affiliated with?
My advice would always be to see the University of New Mexico as a resource. I think that's the first part that I am always jealous, if I can use this word, Tim, when I go to other states and to these private institutions that have a premier brand, let's say, and I know because I also gave up opportunities of working in some of these universities and decided to come to the state of New Mexico, the great opportunities and potential that there is here in New Mexico, right? So it's, I think, valuing our communities and our university because we have a lot of possibilities to provide to the world amazing information and resources. So I would like our communities to see us that we're here for them. And as I said, as we are trying to address issues that are important to the communities, we also try to accommodate this ability of involving students, particularly if they are from the communities. That to me is very important because that's how we empower the future generations, not only to necessarily serve back their communities, but to serve to the world and provide a unique perspective that as New Mexicans, people have, right? That cultural richness, knowledge that the world needs.
You touch on students, and I think they're such an important conduit for the work that we do. Um, in the many years that you've been here, I know you've had tremendous impact on students. What would you encourage a student that wants to study engineering or environmental, research or any of that work that you're involved in? What would you encourage them to potentially pursue, in maybe coming to the University of New Mexico?
Yeah, I think that the University of New Mexico has a heart. That is one of the best assets of these universities. And I say this not only through my own colleagues, but also through other students, staff. And as you go through a degree in science, technology, engineering, and math, you will realize that there is this openness and this nurturing spirit of our faculty to listen to students and to concerns, and also to try to be responsive to the realities of our communities, right? So I think that as an engineer, you are interested in applied science, right? That's the definition of engineering. And if that science can be applied to problems that are important to you and to your community, that provides an intricate motivation and passion. And I would encourage all the students to keep true to that passion, to have that hold themselves in the times of challenge, which we will have many of them, right, in pursuing these degrees and in pursuing research. But it's that persistence that at the end enables us to get to fruitful results. So it's persistence and patience.
One of the things that, has kind of emerged over the last year is the UNM Community Engagement Office. And, how would you, want us to help connect faculty, researchers to address these real world problems that we are facing right now? How can we be a conduit for that?
Team, right now, with the challenges that we're having with the federal government cutting budgets for topics that you mentioned, right? Climate or environment or other related ones, the university will have a big role in enabling these connections with the communities, even if we have these challenges with funding. So I think that the opportunity that your community engagement institute could have is on enabling, and even I would say having communities be at peace that there's continuity on a network that is at the university, that will enable us to continue these efforts independently of whatever transient situations we could have, right? Because there's a possibility of, let's say, getting funding for a specific program, but that doesn't mean that that will solve all of the community problems, right? And to keep that persistence, I think that your Community Engagement Institute offers an invaluable space to, especially the communities, to know that the university has that research, and also for the different faculty, staff, students that can also go to be part of this network, right? And know that that network is there as a way of sustaining these relationships and partnerships. My name is José Cerrato. I am a professor at the University of New Mexico Gerald May Civil Construction and Environmental Engineering Department.